Welcome back, everyone. Today's lecture is tailored specifically for our third year university students as we dive deeper into the core of applied linguistics and instructional design, didactics, and language teaching. As future educators and advanced researchers in English language teaching, you know that classroom methodology is never static. It is a reflection of shifting linguistic paradigms and psychological theories. So, in this lesson, we will critically evaluate the historical trajectory of language pedagogy, tracing how we shifted from classical rule based structures to contemporary communicative masterclasses. Grab your notebooks and let's begin. To ground our discussion, let's review our instructional objectives. By the end of this module, you should be able to critically analyze traditional and modern EFL methodologies, apply communicative and competency based principles, and evaluate instructional models across diverse classroom environments. Well, as third year students, you are expected to synthesize your prior knowledge of historical frameworks and apply rigorous critical thinking as we examine these modules. Let's begin with Lecture 1, the taxonomy of EFL. How do we decode the structural hierarchy of language instructions? Basically, we categorize it into four distinct levels. The first one is approach, which is the theoretical bedrock incorporating core linguistic and psychological theories regarding the nature of language and learning. The second one is method, which is the organizational bridge that links theory to practice, governing how syllabus content is selected and structured. The third one is procedure, and it is the operational framework encompassing the moment to moment instructional behaviors and lesson stages. And finally, we have technique. And technique is the concrete classroom application. It is the specific drills, tasks, and exercises implemented to achieve designed learning outcomes. So, to see how this hierarchy functions in practice, let's analyze a classical case study, the audiolingual method, or ALM. At the methodology and approach level, ALM operates on a structural behaviorist view. Language is mapped as a system of habits acquired through stimulus response conditioning, target mimicry, and immediate reinforcement. At the method level, ALM prioritizes oral accuracy and systematic pattern drills. At the operational procedure level, the instructor explicitly states rules, models accurate usage, leads structured repetition, and systematically corrects pronunciation errors. At the technique level, we observe immediately or immediate repetition drills. For instance, teacher promotes walk, students respond walked. Another example, teacher promotes jump, students respond jumped. While ALM enforces oral precision, ask yourselves, does habit formation equate to genuine linguistic competence? So, my dear students, keep that question in mind as we move forward. In Lecture 2, we explore these methodologies in action. So let's start with the classical system, the Grammar Translation Method, or GTM. Historically developed to teach classical languages like Latin and Greek, GTM approaches language acquisition through explicit rule memorization and literary translation. From a practical standpoint, GTM offers notable advantages. Well, it rapidly expands reading comprehension and lexical acquisition through direct translation. Also, it is highly scalable and effective in large multiple level tertiary classrooms. Also, it allows abstract grammatical concepts to be delivered efficiently via the native language or L1. However, from a modern pedagogical perspective, its limitations are significant. It fosters a highly teacher centered environment, reducing student autonomy and critical inquiry. It almost entirely neglects oral and auditory development. In addition to that, and crucially, it creates cognitive dependency on word for word L1 translation, hindering spontaneous communication in the target language. A direct counter reaction to GTM was the direct method, often termed the natural method. The defining principle of the direct method is the absolute prohibition of the native language in the classroom. It mirrors natural L1 acquisition sequence, which is listening and speaking precede reading and writing. Usually, teachers utilize visual cues, object demonstrations, and miming to bypass translation completely. However, as university level observers note its main drawback, completely avoiding L1 can be extremely time consuming and cognitively taxing for complex, abstract concepts. To introduce structural rigor to direct immersion, British linguists formulated the situational oral approach. This module relies on selection and gradation. Spoken language is systematically introduced before written language. New structures are embedded within meaningful situational contexts. And concerning the syntax, it is mathematically graded, ensuring simple patterns are thoroughly mastered before introducing complex structures. In terms of vocabulary, it is carefully curated based on frequency to establish a strong foundational lexicon. As humanistic psychology influenced education, methodology shifted toward learner centered dynamics. First, consider total physical response or TPR, designed by Dr. James Asher. TPR is built on the kinesthetic language body conversation. Drawing from how young children respond physically to commands before producing speech, TPR leverages bodily actions to lower the affective filter, reduce anxiety, and enhance long term retention. In contrast, consider the intriguing paradigm of the silent way, which was pioneered by Caleb Catigno. Here, the instructor deliberately maintains silence to maximize student language production. Learning is viewed as a problem solving, discovery driven task. So, to facilitate this without verbal prompting, the teacher employs specific didactics aids such as color coded sound color charts and tactile questionnaire rods to guide student discovery through visual and spatial modalities. This brings us to the contemporary paradigms dominating modern university curricula: competency based language teaching, or CBTL, and communicative language teaching, or CLT. Let's summarize their pedagogical distinctions. Let's start with CBTL. It is observable, functional life and skills and competencies. In terms of the key characteristics, it modularized instruction with behavioral outcomes and continuous assessment. Well, the role of the teacher here is as an evaluator of skills and diagnostic facilitator. Let's move on to CLT. It is about acquiring interactive communicative competencies. It prioritizes fluency over strict grammatical accuracy, relies on authentic texts, and the role of the teacher here is a learning guide, organizer, and interactive facilitator. Where CBTL prepares learners for verifiable real world tasks, CLT transforms the classroom into an authentic communicative environment where interaction is both the means and the goal of learning. That concludes our theoretical overview of approaches, methods, and classroom pedagogy. For your post lecture reflection, consider this task. When designing a syllabus for secondary or higher education, how would you strike an effective balance between the structural precision of early methods and the functional fluency of modern CLT? Share your analytical thoughts in the discussion section below and be sure to review your lecture notes, and I look forward to reading your contributions. Thank you for your attention and happy teaching!